10 years ago, right here in New York City, I was a young idealist working with teens in the foster care and juvenile justice systems. Many of them had severe emotional challenges and learning differences, and it was the coolest job in the world. I had also been through a lot as a kid, and it was around this time, fresh out of college, that I realized that helping others helped me. But it's also when I realized this concept that I really, really don't like, that adults don't talk about their problems. The challenges of the participants in our program, that was fair game. But us, the clinicians, the educators, it was somehow off limits. And you may be thinking, well, this guy's clearly confident. Look at his jacket, right? He doesn't care what anybody thinks. But here's the truth. I was complicit in this lie that adults were born perfect because I'm actually a big fat wimp. I always have been, and when wimps go through life avoiding their problems, they become great liars and even hypocrites. If, when I was a kid, an unreachable, discouraged, nobody understands me kind of kid, an adult came to me and said, hey, I see what you're going through, and I want to let you know that I went through something similar and you could look to me for guidance, I would have been way better off. Because that motivational poster stuff didn't work for me. It wasn't enough. I still see that stuff up in the real world schools that I visit. And if there's one thing I've learned in adulthood, especially in the world of human services and social entrepreneurship, it's that some things don't change unless we literally make them. No matter how many posters of sunsets we plaster to the walls of our local high school guidance office. I'd argue that if we were all a little bit more honest about our challenges, our problems, our hang-ups, our flaws, our experiences, our kids would be better off. The world would be better off. So would we. Because not only is it helpful to speak your truth, but it's also healthy. So here it goes. I was a really impulsive kid. The other kids thought I was weird. I would do things for attention, to take away attention from the fact that I was having trouble keeping up with the rest of the class. I'd fidget in my chair all day until recess, when I'd go outside and throw rocks for 45 minutes by myself. At the end of the day, I'd shove my homework into the bottom of my backpack where it would never see the light of day again. At 5 years old, I was diagnosed with ADHD, and I spent from then all the way through high school in special ed classes. I also rode backwards until like the 3rd grade. I couldn't tie my shoes or ride a bike until the 4th. I scored goals for the wrong team in every single sport I tried, but I did manage to fake my way through orchestra playing by ear. I still have to hold up 2 L's when I need to know my left from my right in a pinch. I also grew up in an unstable household, like really unstable. I dealt with the manipulation and control and abuse of a family member, and the depression, subsequent suicide attempts, hospitalizations, and courses of intensive electroshock treatment of another within my home. Because of that, the lack of stability in my home, I didn't get the kind of support that most kids need, especially a kid with the challenges that I faced. And that kind of trauma can have a big effect on not only the way you think about the world, but the way you actually think. As a teen though, I carved out a meaningful life for myself. I learned that there was an entire industry of musicians who also don't know what the hell they're doing. It's called punk rock, and I've been making noise in basements and dive bars with my friends ever since. And it's been a great therapeutic outlet for me, but it wasn't enough. So in 2010, I got that job working with teens. They were as tough as nails, and I loved it. Hang on a sec. Like I was saying, in 2010, I got that job working with teens. And it was the coolest job in the world. I'd show them heavy metal, they'd show me hip hop, I'd take them to the mall where they'd ask for girls' phone numbers, and when I finally took their advice and asked a woman for hers, she actually became my wife. One afternoon, I was giving homework help to Raheem, and he was frustrated. We were back at the group home. He pushed the paper across the kitchen table at me and he said, "Hey, yo, fuck this, Mr. David. It's stupid and I ain't doing it." I didn't know what to say. I wanted to hug him, but he would not have liked that. I pushed the paper back, and quieter I leaned in and I said, I know, this stuff sucks. I'm horrible at math. Between you and me, I have ADHD just like you. But it's my job to help you get it done. It's your job to finish it. And after that, we'll go play ball. But let's just concentrate on this. And that's what we did. Later though, Miss Jazz asked to talk to me in the sanctuary. Miss Jazz was my supervisor, and the sanctuary was not nearly as peaceful or welcoming as it sounds. It was where we used to take the kids when they needed to get interrogated about an incident or patted down for weapons and drugs. She said, don't ever let me hear you tell anybody about your business up in here again. I'm telling you, these kids, this staff, will use whatever they have on you to bring you down. Don't tell them your weaknesses. Your weaknesses. So I didn't. I shut up, due to the stigma surrounding people labeled different. And 10 years later, I'm a full-time educator and advocate for neurodiverse people. I help run a nonprofit whose mission is to provide employment opportunities to people who think differently than most. I even host a podcast with my buddy Josh. Josh is autistic, and on the show, he reaches out to what he calls younger versions of himself to tell them that it gets better. And every day, people reach out from all over the world thanking Josh for his voice. But me, I still haven't said anything. I've been a wimp. Every time that I think that it would be valuable to tell a discouraged participant in my program, or a parent, or a fan of the podcast, I hear Miss Jazz in the back of my mind, and doubt sets in. But imagine a world where there was no shame in telling people about your challenges. A world where someone may approach you and tell you some heavy or complicated things about their lived experience, and it simply wouldn't faze you. Where we were eager to understand and empathize with each other, and there was no shame in being different than the dude next to you. In fact, that kind of diversity is celebrated. That to me is the real world, and it's the one that I want to live in. So, as someone whose life's mission is to help create a more inclusive world, I invite you all today to be more open and honest about your truest selves. Because if, when I was a kid, somebody came to me and told me everything was going to be okay, not because it just would, or because of a poster on a wall, but because they saw what I was going through, they'd been through something similar, and I could look to them for guidance, to know it would be okay, I would have been way better off. If I'd known all this never give up stuff was being said to me by flawed, complicated, hypocritical mortals with all different things going on, I would have been better off. And if I had been encouraged to speak my truth and put my real self out there for everyone to see when I was tasked with supporting younger people who are in my position, I would have been better off. So when you're out there in the real world, help make it a little bit more real. Tell people what makes you different, what makes you special, what your challenges are. I dare you, because we'll all be better for it. I'm Dave Thompson, and I'm a speaker who dares.